Visit us for updates and shows at affinityxtra.co.uk.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are personal and do not necessarily represent the views of Affinity Xtra.
Yeah, guys, this is your boy here, Roger Moore here from Affinity Xtra, celebrating gospel music back origin. But now we gotta flip into the specialist show out here. It's called Ideologees, and I would say that I am not the host here. I'm just the side, the side man.
The co-driver.
We call it side men out here.
No. We don't do that here.
You say I'm the what do you call the guy? You know when you're doing rapping and
the hype man.
Yeah, I'm the hype. Yeah. You know I'm the hype man. Yeah,
I'm the MC. You're the hype man.
I'm the hype man. Yeah. But listen, I'm
the DJ.
Listen,
spinning the decks.
This is MarkGee just doing his thing, and MisterMarkGee, and he's gonna go. He's gonna go into it when it comes to ideologies, and we're gonna hit a subject which can't wait to get into. So, Mark, you just take it away. Let's go. Let's get straight into this, man.
Yes, indeed. So, the U.S. election campaign season is underway, and the presidential election, in case you're living under the rock, is between Donald Trump and the U.S. current Vice President Kamala Harris. If you're watching the news closely, it's not really looking good in the polls for Kamala Harris. And the former president of the United States, Barack Obama, has kind of joined. Well, he did make a speech at the convention, singing praises for Kamala and how she's the right person for the job. And I think having witnessed how she is not doing well in the polls, decided to kind of, contribute and try and woo voters to vote for Kamala. And we're going to react to a video where he's actually trying to woo voters, particularly black men, to go out and vote. And this episode, what I would like to discuss is the ideological and also historical factors that has led the Democrats at large to vote for many years for the Democratic Party, and how right now, for the first time ever in a long time, it seems like the African-American electorate is divided, is split, that there's some who are actually pledging that they will vote for Donald Trump rather than Kamala. So we're going to look at this from a ideological and also historical perspective. I know you're going to enjoy this one. So first, we will hear a word from former President Barack Obama. We'll react to it, and then, just have fun with it. So, let's go.
I'm born ready.
Because my understanding, based on reports I'm getting from campaigns and communities, is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences, who's had to work harder and do more and overcome and achieves the second highest office in the land, and is putting forward concrete proposals to directly address the things that are vital in our neighborhoods and our communities. from housing to making sure that our mothers and our fathers and our grandparents can afford medicine, and making sure that we are dealing with prices that are too high and rents that are too high, and are committed to making sure that we maintain the Affordable Care Act, so everybody's got help here, and cares about things like education and entrepreneurship in our neighborhoods. And that's on one side. And on the other side, you have someone who has consistently shown disregard, not just for the communities, but for you as a person. And you're thinking about sitting out? I'm not. But, you know, because of Putin might be. And you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that. Because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly now, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that. And I think anybody you are talking to in a barbershop, anybody you are talking to in your house, in your family, at church, who is coming with that kind of attitude, I think you have to ask them, well, how can that be? Because the women in our lives have been getting our backs this entire time. They've been raising us and working and having our backs. And when we get in trouble and the system's not working for us, they're the ones who are out there marching and protesting. And so now you're thinking about sitting out or even supporting somebody who has a history of denigrating you because you think that's a sign of strength, because that's what being a man is, putting women down. That's not acceptable. That's not. This shouldn't even be a question.
Yeah, press pause on that, bro. Because I'm ready, bro. I'm ready. I'm ready.
So,
you know, just to put it out there, I have seen some comments about this, yeah, but I haven't watched the full interview because they played clips from it. I've just watched that whole part, and even I'm seething.
So before
I'm seething. Yeah.
So before we break it down,
okay, sorry. Forgive me.
I would like you to share with us
my initial response. Yeah. So I'm the response to the hype man. Now, my response to that is bear in mind that I don't live in the US. I've never been to the US, and I don't. The voting in the US does affect the world because, unfortunately, you guys do affect your foreign policy is bombing places outside the US and whatever. So, and you do make a lot of money from resources around the world. And you do have a colony called Liberia in Africa. So you do have an interest in the world events, and you have been a world power since coming out of British control. And I think people need to understand the fundamentals. Also, when there was meeting around the splitting Africa, the European nations, who was around the table as well? The USA was around the same table. On top of that, you know what I'm saying, while everybody was ushered out the Caribbean in the early 1900s, the late 1800s, the US was fasting in the politics of the Caribbean, in Cuba and Haiti specifically. So whoever gets voted in impacts the world. That's the reality of the USA. So if you think I don't have a say in this, we don't vote you in, but this impacts us. Let me start off with Obama. Hopefully I don't go into too side, guys, forgive me. But I have to contextualize what I'm going to say, because some people might think you guys got nothing to say because we got a different accent. Obama, I remember when he got voted in, it inspired me as a black man. Yeah, that we could achieve. Yeah, it wasn't inspirational. Now, fortunately, I think at end of his 2 tenures, we realized that you don't have no power. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You actually didn't do much for global black politics. Yeah, you didn't see no biasness towards sorting out issues within Africa and being the first to be in there. I think you was almost like a puppet. Yeah, but rate you inspired us, and you never did too much wrong and you never did too much right. Yeah, he just liberalized the whole approach. And then economically, what I've seen in America, and I'm not a Donald Trump guy, yeah, in terms of like, power to Trump, and I'm this is about MAGA Christian. I'm anti this MAGA movement. I'm anti the the foolishness that happened when he wasn't voted in and whatever, the way you so I'm anti that, and I don't really down with the churches that go vote Trump because he doesn't believe in abortions and all this business. I'm not, that is absolutely, for me, it's not foolishness. It's just the same argument that they came up when they voted Hitler into when people were voting for Hitler before he. But
let me stop you there.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't go as far as the left to say that Trump is Hitler, though, would you?
No.
Just to make it clear. Because I mean, put politics to one side. I'll let you finish, but the left have always been creating this hysteria that Trump is going to be this horrible guy, to the point that some people, two times, they've tried to assassinate him. As a human being, I don't care if I agree with him or no. I don't want him dead.
Bro, it's deep in that,
But carry on. That's something I just want to say.
I want to say,
as a human being, we don't want nobody dead. We don't want to kill no one. We don't want no one assassinated. Whether it's Kamala, whether it's Biden, we don't want no one dead. I mean, with Obama wasn't great, but I don't want him dead. You know what I mean? That's crazy. The fact that it's gone so bad that twice they're trying to kill the guy. But as a human being, no, we don't want nobody murdered, bro.
No, that's going too far politics, that is. But ultimately, I want to make sure everybody knows that I'm not down with the whole Trump, the whole Trump kind of way he goes about things. But he's the cowboy that I trust. I grew up with a lot of people that would racially say things in front of my face or behind my back. But I prefer the guy who racially abused me in my front, because I saw him point the gun at me and I can dodge that. The ones when you turn your back and they stab you in the back, that's the worst ones. So for me, I feel like the black man are almost in the boat that I'm looking at the situation is the black man is going, we have seen evidence of Kamala or whatever her name is, Kamala, that she hasn't been for us. And when we look at a household is not for us. Obama was with a black woman, you know what I'm saying? And you can see the black, I'm not saying she should go with a black person, far from it, but nothing about her says she's about us. Yeah? I mean, just because you got slightly brown skin don't mean you're for us. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And we are not fooled by puppets. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Just to get the vote. Yeah. And I feel like her history, Obama is chatting absolute rubbish. A history that has been the scourge of black men within her power. I've watched American programs where they'll say to the white kid, naughty, it's a blotter against your record, see you later. That's what the judge does, because he's got the power. And when he's got the power to go to the same black kid, the same charge, go to the black kid, 5 years, see you later. Yeah?
Like when they drugs thing.
Yeah. I'm not saying the black judge should do the opposite round. I'm saying give both the kids a chance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't believe Kamala, from what I've heard and what I've reported about her, has shown that towards black men and equaled out, not in terms of she hasn't been a support framework on the way up. She hasn't been. So now to come to us after she's got stepped over us, yeah, to get where she gets to, and then knowing that she needs the black vote, yeah, to raise up, yeah, I'm down with the man them, and then when you do lame things like I'm gonna change marijuana law. Yo, I don't smoke weed. Not all my friends in America smoke weed. What are you trying to do? Fulfill you watching TV too much. You know what I mean? You fulfill TV stereotypes. You know what I mean? You know, like we just want to earn and take care of our families. You know what I'm saying? We just want that. You know what I mean? And you haven't given us the option. And Trump is like, oh God, do we need to go do that? Some men are like, it's all vote Trump. Yeah, we get it. But for me, Obama, he never did nothing for us. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? As us, you know, I'm just trying to talk back as a black man over there. And then you're gonna tell me that this lady that has no evidence to do anything with for us, a household is not even for us. Just because she's born in, people say she's born in Jamaica, everyone get excited. She ain't for us. You know what I mean? She's not gonna stop the trafficking of guns going into Jamaica. So anyway, so for me, Obama, I actually understand. I'm sorry, mate. Yeah, I understand why a lot of YouTube black men have come and absolutely slew you out there still, yeah? You know, we can handle a black woman in charge. We can handle that. We've seen in our churches, we've seen in our spaces, we have been comfortable with this in our space, yeah? What I will say is we've been too comfortable with that as black men. But what I will say, because we lay back, we don't step up into our role, you know what I'm saying? But what I am saying is voting for Kamala is not going to make the black situation better. She has no evidence whatsoever for that, apart from this could be the black women's way of saying, oh, look, there's somebody there that looks like us who's won it again. We're going to go for Obama part 2. Absolutely do nothing for us, but if anything, be even worse, because that's her evidence. Is Obama, you know, he was standing up, you know, for issues like that. He was fighting for it. She ain't got no history of that. So that's just me. That's where I'm at with it. You know, I'm not saying vote Camilla, but what I'm saying, I'm very frustrated because there's a war going on right now. You know what I'm saying? And the black vote, and Umar Johnson says this a lot. You know, your favorite, you know, narrator, you know what I mean? But he says this a lot. Like other communities, we don't seem to galvanize together and look at the power of our vote and say what is important for us as a community going forward together, not voting somebody else just because they smoked weed or in the past or they ate or they went to a local food shop. I'm talking about what is better for our community. Is it somebody who is going to look at people who are born here and develop that up? Or is, you know, that's the harsh reality. And I think that's how we look at even politics over here. You know what I'm saying? But I understand the traditional vote, Labour, and the traditional vote being, is it Republican, Democrats, or whatever. So I understand that thing. But for me, Obama, not feeling it, bro. You know what I'm saying? And the typical, you know what winds me up about America, just letting you know, whoever you're talking about, they're always in the background. So whenever you're talking about black issues, you have all the black people. You guys pitch it like a movie. You know what I mean? It's like, if you could be talking to guys in the South and, you know what I mean, a bunch of, you know what I mean, you want to reach the cattle ranchers, you have about 50 of them behind you. And like, really? We've gone past that. But bro, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling what Obama said. I don't know if that was too much or whatever.
No, that's good.
You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm at with it. You know what I'm saying?
Cool. So this is ideology. So we're going to do an ideological assessment of things. Now, so what was my assessment? Was it not? I just wanted you to rant a bit before I started.
No, but technically,
I will pick up from what you said
sorry, get me what I'm saying. What technically you're gonna come from an ideological perspective?
Yeah.
But then when it's not ideological, what is it? Is it emotive? What would you call it?
It's gas. I mean, what people would say is that Obama is gaslighting making it about.
But you're going to make an ideological opinion about what Obama said.
No, an ideological assessment of things.
So what was my assessment? What would you call my assessment of it?
I think.
Is it emotional? Is it emotive? Or is it?
No, you're looking at the facts. You're looking at the facts that even in this country we have politicians who are from our culture or our color and say, but it hasn't had really an effect on us. What I just wrote down here is identity politics, which unfortunately is a factor in our multicultural democracies, namely USA, Australia, and America. And that's downly due to the history of United States and the UK and other countries where there's different cultures, right? So I want us to go down memory lane about the historical and ideological perspective of how the black people have either voted Democrat and Republican, and then where we go to this day, and then you can kind of do a running commentary, right? Can we do that?
Cool. Yeah, we can do that.
So, unless you're not living on a rock, the United States has a dark history. We all agree with how they've treated black people from the days of
Native Americans?
slavery. Yeah,
Black and Native Americans.
So in general, discrimination,
genocide.
Discrimination and racial hatred has been a factor in American society.
A genocidal approach to the Native Americans, because getting a machine gun, bro, and just turning the dial like that on children, men, and everything like that. It's genocidal. You know what I mean?
And the reason why this is sad, because in the founding documents of the United States of America, it says that something to the lines of all men are endowed with inalienable rights, namely life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And what has been the discussion in America is who is a man, because for a time it was just white man who had the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Everyone else was subhuman, namely the North, all the other races. And of course, many people have suffered as a result. And it has been an ongoing debate as to who that individual has rights, whether it's just a white man or all human beings. And of course, we all know right now, biblically speaking, as it always been, it's only because of sin and hatred in our hearts that we have contempt for one person and dehumanize them just on the basis that they're of a different race, right? Now, I want to take you back quickly to the days of Abraham Lincoln, who was against slavery, and he was Republican, and there was a civil war in the United States, and the center of the Civil War was whether we want a United States that enslaves or believes that these people who we have enslaved for so long are as free as everyone else and should enjoy the same rights as, say, the white people. And Abraham Lincoln, being a Republican, was a believer that these black folks should not be discriminated in the way that they were. And so in history, weirdly enough, when we go back in the days of Abraham Lincoln, the Republicans were the ones who were for that the enfranchisement of all people, not just white people, that black people and white people are all equal, because there was this very dark and evil belief that black person was 3/4 human, just on the basis of the stigma of the pigment of their skin. And so, unfortunately, racism and racial hatred has been a factor in the United States. And this is why identity politics is the way it is to this day, because it's like, okay, now we're free now, but how do we navigate all the people in the past have gone through? But as you very well know, Roger, and I know, and you know, is that the end of slavery was not the end of discrimination in America, because in as much as they were free, well, then came after that was a Jim Crow, where in as much as slavery was not allowed, there was segregation, where the African Americans were denied certain things compared to the whites, and there was this dehumanization of sorts where, say, for example, in a public space, there will be a place for black people to go toilet and a white person, or cinema, and etc. And then in comes...
And also at the same time is that the prisons, when became the new slave spots.
Yes.
So what it was is that they just found another way to pick up the people that were slaves before and then chuck them into prisons, and they'll be doing the same thing again through slavery. Hence why the high percentage of black men, because the judges were basically finding every excuse to chuck black men into prison.
And the criminal justice system, I think, is something that we need to look at, both in the UK, the US at the later stage. But back to the chronology of events.
Cool.
So, after slavery came Jim Crow, which is the segregation, where in as much as there was no slavery, the black people were denied. There was no integration, there was segregation. And worse still, black people were denied access to services the way their Caucasian counterparts would. Then that's the rise of the civil rights movement, where the likes of Martin Luther King and all those guys, and the civil rights found favor with the Democratic Party, because the likes of President John F. Kennedy and his successor Lyndon Johnson, these people were more. The Martin Luther King was like a leader of a pressure group demanding that there's civil rights legislation in sort of civil rights legislation passed to ensure that black people and white people enjoy the same rights on an equal footing. And so this is why, since the civil rights movement to this day, more or less, the Democrats vote for the blacks vote, the African Americans vote for the Democratic Party, and that has always been the case. Now, I think Lyndon Johnson saw a strategy in all of this, because if we go back to the first episode, we talked about how the left are big government and the the people in the conservative are small government. And so, because Lyndon Johnson was a left-leaning president, in order to court the black people in voting, he would promise them things like welfare programs, right? He had this policy going about war on poverty, so he'd give people welfare programs and all these services to sort of give a foot up to the African American community. And so it has always been the case that because the Democrats were those who were more favorable to kind of give the African Americans a leg up, that it was always natural that the black person would vote for the Democratic Party. And also, let's not ignore or go past the fact that because majority of these people have discriminated, they were economically deprived as a result. And so that's when the Democrats can say, oh, if you vote for us, we'll give you welfare. If you vote for us, we'll give you all these services. We're going to give you a leg up. And that's why, naturally, the Democrats have been favorable among African Americans.
Yeah, okay, cool.
But then what has happened is, as years have gone forward, for example, what would a black man do, for example, if if it seems like, and I think it's the issue with the Labour now as well, is if there's some black people who have aspired and have gone beyond the lower class and are now middle class and top class, then how do the left-leaning parties approach that demographic? Because the left-leaning political parties, because they're for the poor people, what they would tell them is, well, we're going to tax, say, the wealth creators, and with that tax, we'll then provide you services. But then those at the top will say, well, you are stifling my wealth creation, and you are punishing me for me working hard to take care of these guys. Now, what happens, brother, if these guys at the top are now black people saying, well, if all you're going to come and tell me is, well, we're going to do this for you, we're going to do this for you, well, I have dug out my own bootstraps and I've come all the way on the top. And now I am the enemy. And this is why we now have black conservatives who say, and this is the thing about the left-wing politicians, is that how do they encourage those who are entrepreneurial? rather than those who are in need. Right?
Right?
And that's why you see quite a lot of the rise of African Americans, because if think about it, Roger, even here in this country, if all the companies say, "Oh, we're going to give you this, we're going to give you that," but you are in a space where you do not need all that. The question will be, okay, well, I'm living a good life. What do you have for me? And then they'll say, well, we're not for you. You're actually the enemy. We're actually going. Look at. An alternative, a similar situation we have now, like with Keir Starmer right now, is. He's saying that he's going to bring about legislation that will tax those who put kids in private school in order to fund the public schools. And I'm not going to tell you where I stand on that, but the parents who are taking these schools will be like, listen, I earned this money. You know what I mean? Now, Keir Starmer, in his response, would say, I know that you want to take care of your kids, but those kids also need to be taken care of as well. And okay, but so this is where we are at now. So I just given you a little backstory as to why the Democrats have courted the black vote for a long time. I guess it's because John F. Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson and all the presidents beyond that seem to have a public semblance of supporting the ethnic minorities in the United States, especially in the context where they were disenfranchised and wrongfully so. So they're like, we're right behind you, right? So the question is, and now this has always been the case, and of course, when Barack Obama ran for president, African Americans, turned out and voted for him, and you did say, and it's worth highlighting that. Put politics aside, I'm sure everyone across the political divide would say, unless you're a racist, in a country that once did not view a black person as a human being, the fact that Obama had the audacity to run and win and clinch the White House is very important because it affirms. It's like a symbolic affirmation that yes, that was the past, and yes, it is that a black man is as human as everyone else as well. And if he proves competent, he should go for it and do the job. And that's what he did. And he not only did he win in 2008, he was even re-elected.
Re-elected,
so on a symbolic, I think it's well worth noting. It's good to see politicians of all races and backgrounds, because that wasn't the case. Because we're going back to the day when in the United States it was just white men. Because even women had to fight to be enfranchised into the political space and to be involved. And I think and as Christians, I say, because of the sin and the hatred in humankind that all these groups had to fight to be enfranchised into the mainstream society. And this is why, because of this historical and ideological text that I've just explained, this is why identity politics is such a big thing in America, because the issue of...
Which side, John?
Yeah.
But you know what's interesting, do you
get what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying. A comment I would say, something I know about American history, and I think this is where we have to understand, is that also there was a divide between Chinese workers. There was a divide with because there was indigent workers anyway. So basically, when the slaves stopped, they had to replace slaves. So yes, they still carried on bringing slaves from Africa. Well, indigent workers, they called them anyway. Still, basically slaves. And you have to work your way out. But they did that for Ireland. They did that for Scotland. They did that for Italy. So you had a lot of Italians going in there, and they were almost not seen as white. The Jews were not seen as white. So you had these communities going out there that weren't seen as the elite white. So there's white men, but it was a particular type of white man.
Even the Irish. Even the Irish.
I was just seeing it. But because over 2 generations now, they've literally come together, you wouldn't know that there was massive divides, and the Irish were treated as really, really as bad as black people. You know what I'm saying as well? And I think as much as you do say white, we can't ignore the fact that basically, and that also adds to identity, because as an Irish person, the system never favoured them. You know what I'm saying? They came over here, they came over to America from a family that was created by the people that looked like them, the British, the English, starved Ireland, and Ireland, the Irish had to move to America straight to a civil war, and some of them were put straight into the front lines of a war that they weren't part of. So identities, it's crazy. You know what I mean? I mean, which side do you go to for as a person with Irish descent? You know what I'm saying, and whatsoever. So for me, I hear what you're saying with identity politics is not only people see it from a sexuality perspective. When they say identity, oh, who do you identify, male or female? It's not just that, it's deeper, it's way bigger and wider than that. You know what I'm saying? So it is a valid point. And as a black person, growing up in the UK and the same probably in America, you get told this is who you vote for. And I hear a lot of commentators my age, you get told you're black, so you have to vote this way. You know what I'm saying? You know, but you don't ask why. You just assume that the elders.
So I think now so basically I've just explained. Thank you for that. So basically I've just explained why traditionally for a time the Democratic Party was favored very much by black people. Now we are at an election where the enthusiasm is not as hot as it has been in past years. And the question is why? And in order to answer that, we just have to do an ideological assessment of Kamala Harris, I think. Now, I'm not here to give away my my point of view. But as I was speaking to you even before this recording, I think the issue with Kamala Harris, and I think a lot of African Americans are saying, is that the way I put it is Kamala comes across as an ideological chameleon. That on one hand, she would be as conservative as possible, and on the other hand, she will be very progressive. So she will be switching, and it's all in the quest for power. And in fact, a key person that highlighted this, don't freak out, is conservative commentator, Jewish American commentator Ben Shapiro, who said that on one hand, she would say something that sounds progressive, but her actions show otherwise. So here's an example. She would say, apparently in fact, I think in order to do this, I want to show people another video, if I may, Roger.
Cool.
And it was when they were voting in the last election for the primaries as to who should be the next presidential candidate for the Democratic Party, which Joe Biden won. Now, among those people contending to be the Democratic nominee was Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and this other lady called Tulsi Gabbard. And she questions, Tulsi Gabbard gives people some statistics and facts about Kamala's record that shows that she's not really for quote unquote the people. So I'm going to show you that video because I think it's quite interesting. Because this is what the African American people does. This is Tulsi Gabbard, who by the way has left the Democratic Party because she feels that they've gone too far to the left, and in fact she has endorsed Donald Trump. By the way, before we finish, I definitely am curious about your issue with MAGA. I want to know what your issue with MAGA is. As a as a devil's advocate, just to spell it out. Yeah. I want, but this is Tulsa explaining with great enthusiasm the disconnect between Kamala saying she's for the people, but what she has done in various roles shows quite the contrary. Here we go.
Prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris, your response.
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people, which became a national model for the work that needs to be done. And I am proud of that work. And I am proud of making a decision to not just give fancy speeches or be in a legislative body and give speeches on the floor, but actually doing the work of being in the position to use the power that I had to reform a system that is badly in need of reform. That is why we created initiatives that were about re-entering former offenders and getting them counseling. It is why, and because I know...
Notice that Tulsa said everything she wanted to say, and she did not affirm or deny, but change subjects.
It, man. She did a classic politician there, you know.
Listen.
She jumped the ship,
listen,
you know what I mean?
I think the issue among African Americans is based on her record. Mm-hmm. They do not even know where she stands ideologically. She will. Did you see? She sounded like the most. She was saying she sounds like the most right wing. She's done the most right wing things, and she's coming across as a progressive politician for the people. In other words, I'm saying I'm for the people, but I'm going to put you in jail for marijuana, and then at the same token say I want to legalize marijuana, but your record doesn't say so. There's another video about putting innocent people in jail. There's another video about, in a bid to, in a bid apparently. In a bid to, so there's this thing as she was Attorney General in California, right? Mm-hmm. And she saw that there was low attendance in school. You could see this on Instagram. And because there was, if schools didn't, if the kids were truanting, the California schools would not get funding. So do you know what she did? She said, here we'll put parents in jail if your kids keep truanting. In comes this woman who had a daughter with sickle cell anemia, and she was suffering a lot, and that her daughter was suffering a lot of pain. Guess what? Police knocked on her door because of Kamala Harris. That woman, black woman,
should know more about sickle cell than anybody else.
Black woman, she has a. They did not understand. They did not want to care about or understand the mitigating circumstances in a bid to show that she is doing the work at the expense, apparently, of this mother and woman. She was very like, well, the kid's not going to school, so you have to pay the consequences, without not caring about the context that this girl, this little lady, this little girl is suffering because of pain, and therefore she can't go to school. And there've been many stories like that. And so a lot of men, I think the fact that Obama is saying, oh, well, it's just because you don't want a woman. I think a lot of people are smart in saying, I want to vote for her, but her record does not say that she's for me.
And I think as black people now,
they're smart. Black people are smart.
We're getting smarter now, because before we used to support the black man on TV. Yeah, go yeah. We used to jump on, he's black, so we got it back. Hold on a second. We're now going, brethren, you're not in my streets. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
What are you doing?
What have you really done for me? Why am I going this and that? And I think something that I am very pro. I wouldn't say I'm Pan-African, but I'm very pro black excellence. That's the best way to put it. Yeah, but one thing I cannot deny. The fact is that when it comes to music, when it comes to success in a bank. I watched a program about the penny bank in America in the 1900s. It wasn't successful without white collaborators. Yeah, so we are not in the world to think that we're not going to deal with anybody else and nobody else is going to help us get to its success. Was there the moment the guy that was in charge of it died, it all fell apart because everybody started grabby and it just messed up and whatsoever. So we cannot deny the fact that basically that sometimes we might need a white president for the better for black people. That's the harshness of it.
And you're hitting the nail on the head.
Yeah.
And I want to move on to MAGA, and then we'll
Cool. And
then we'll be done.
Yeah.
I think you're hitting the nail on the
Yeah.
head because right now Africans, Americans are saying, I don't care if you're white or black. Are you going to raise my taxes? Are you going to stop inflation? You know, an issue in America that is quite big right now is immigration.
Yeah.
They're grilling her. You are the vice president. You are the border czar. You're the one, and yet there are many people coming in. And what have you done as vice president?
And bro, this is what I'm saying to people when it comes to foreign policy. What have you America's reaping what it sowed in Central America. When you see people coming up into there still, they're reaping what they sowed. You got to remember. America, anyway, so I'm going to go too much into history, At the end of this, so you guys, you reap what you sow, You sow destruction, you reap destruction.
So what you're saying is that you got
involved in Central American life.
I think this is a failure of the conservatives, failing to understand that people are not just coming in for no reason, that American influence in the world could be a factor, right?
Just like people coming into Europe is the same thing from they're risking their lives.
So would you say then that in terms of global perspective, in order to maybe a way to stave off immigration is to invest in Africa in a very genuine way that benefits the common man. Because there is a feigning of, we just give the money and it just goes to a few pockets, or goes to the multinational companies. But I think, and I've even had a few conservative MPs who have said the reason why a lot of people are some people come to this country for wrong reasons, but people are coming to greener pastures is because the semblance of investment there is just that. It's just a semblance. People are not feeling it because what happens is, again, I'm going back to Africa, is that say for example they give to Africa to invest, it will only land to the people at the top. And that means that this common one will say, look, I'm starving, I'm going to go in the land of milk and honey. And so I think on a global, international, it's important for your society that the whole world is doing well as well. Otherwise, they'll be knocking at your door. And the Cold War. I mean, I think you're alluding to stuff like the Cold War, American governments' influence in Latin America. Does have a factor. If you impoverish these countries. If I'm starving, I'm knocking on your door. It makes sense because if you're taking all the pie, it makes sense. I mean, people. And by the way, let me say there's some immigrants who they go in for the wrong reasons. They go to commit crime, and we're not for that. But if there's no green pastures where I am, you take your family. I'm going to go where there is.
You're going to go where it is, and end of the day.
So I think the problem with the immigration talk is that they fail to
address the core issue,
the global political issues. They just see it as, they're just coming in, and it's like, but what are the factors?
The UN being in New York, correct me if I'm wrong. In New York is basically saying that we have hold of the foreign policy. US can do whatever they want when it comes to NATO, when it comes to UN. You know what I'm saying? They almost have the final say on it and a lot of things. But now, what's that new group? BRICS. That's a whole nother conversation. BRICS are causing trouble right now. You know what I'm saying?
Let's conclude.
You want to go to MAGA?
So you mentioned MAGA. So we're gonna end. Obviously, this is about this interview has been about the Obama. The thing that struck. Let me start again. The thing that inspired this podcast episode was Obama trying to woo or dare I say gaslight black men to vote for Kamala. But in the introduction, you said something about MAGA. And so, as devil's advocate, what's your issue with the MAGA?
Oh, MAGA. My issue with MAGA is what does making America look good again? According to me, when America was great, we millions of bison in the lands, Native Americans owning their own space and whatever. Making America great again is unfortunately people. It's not. I don't want to say in a bad way.
Okay, let me ask you another question. How will you characterize MAGA people?
MAGA people just got the. MAGA people are people who want to basically put America back to a time where It's not a Christian. It's basically a white-driven perspective of Christian
really
values. European Christian values are going there. For me, making America great again is pack your bags and go back to Europe. That's how hard. If you want to make America go great again, it's not your country. America is not your country to say that. America, it's like me going to Africa and saying, oh no, it's not me going back to Africa. Technically, I am. But it's like somebody like a Chinese telling you, I know how to make Zimbabwe great again. Right, we need to do this. You go, brethren, this is not your. Sit down, blood. I'm talking for Mike. End of the day, so the wrong mouths are saying that thing, Bob. And what we're driving around is for me it's a poor drive behind it. But for me, making America great again is the native people, like in Australia, should be happening, which doesn't happen. The indigenous people taking charge of their own country.
So basically, what you're saying is this idea of making America great. The question you're asking is, when was America great?
Yeah. What was according to who? It was great for the people who stole it off people. It was great. You know what I mean? End of the day, it's like what I never forget. My first time I watched a video of a Native American, how they saw Columbus Day. Columbus Day isn't a day it should be celebrated. Columbus Day is the start of a genocide of the Native American people from North to South America.
Okay, so I'll finish. So let me respond to that.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Let me respond to that as a devil's advocate, just to understand.
No, respect that. Yeah.
The conservatives that I happen to listen to, and listen to closely about the view on history of things, is that they do not deny that horrible things have happened in America. However, what I've heard someone say, a commentator say, is America at least have a North Star with which, let me finish, I'll let you listen, Roger, I'll let you respond. I'll let you respond.
Go.
America has done horrible things.
Yeah.
But America has a North Star with which to measure where we are at and where we're going. Here's what I mean. So yes, there is a hypocrisy that the founding documents of America were that all are created equal and have all these rights. But we know in reality that wasn't the case. And that's horrible. Let me say that. As a black man, that's horrible. However, they had those very documents with which they can look and say, we're not living out this, and we need to try and achieve this. And this is why I say this, is because I'll give you another example. We're Christians here, right? And this is for evangelism, this is a good tip. If an atheist comes and questions you as to whether God is moral, you would ask them, where does your moral basis for attacking the morality of God come from? In other words, what is your basis to say what is right and wrong? If you're coming to tell me that Christianity is wrong, what's your basis in right or wrong? And not to say Christianity and America are the same things, but the same with America is that the story of America, conservatives say, is yes, we are horrible, but at least we had a North Star to which to aspire to. And Barack Obama said that the journey of America throughout the years is to be a much more closer and better union. And I think that argument, I'm not giving it away, but I think that's a strong argument. The fact that at least they had something to they had a mirror right? We know how we as Christians, we have a mirror. No, hear me out. We have a mirror to which we look at and say, how am I faring in being Christ-like? And the founding documents of the United States are saying, are the mirror to say, well, are we living out this? And so the story of American history is, how do we achieve that? Has there been horrible things along the way? Yes. The Northern Americans, the African Americans, and the pain. There is much pain and suffering. And how do we navigate that? Navigate that now. How do we navigate the past and the discrepancies that we see today? Is a discussion we must have. We must have it. But at least they have something with which they have a compass. They have a compass.
They have like a target.
Something to think about. Something to think about.
Yeah. But no, but me personally.
What do you think about that though?
No.
How would you respond to that?
No, 100%.
They have a compass to look at.
It's like, you know. No. I rate them for the fact that basically they can shout out God, but you know, when they need to, and they're very, you know, in terms of that. But I always say, with whose lenses, from a lens of the perspective of people, it's just the way that the same would have happened to Africa if we weren't so strong. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? If they wanted to basically do the same, it's just too much of a strong continent for them to do what they did in as much as they did colonize Africa, they couldn't. You know, King took away 20 million people one time. You know what I'm saying? In the Congo. You know, that's beyond what Hitler did. Yeah, you know what I mean? But nobody don't talk about that. But the thing is, when you master the birthplace of humanity, he's just pouring out people all the time, you know, and they've abused that, they've robbed that. So when I say they, certain men, powerful men in who tend to be from European descent, but going forward when it comes to America, you just gotta be very careful, because who's saying that, who's benefiting from that. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I just think it's just insensitive. It's absolutely insensitive. And as a Christian, you need to be sensitive to injustices. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like they're just forgetting that their religious freedom was people, like, you know, and I don't want to get here, but we're going into almost theological ideologies as well. But it's almost the experimental theologies. When you got challenged things in Europe, they left to go to America because it was religious freedom. Yeah, and that's where America's birthplace of a lot of crazy opinions about the biblical perspective that have gone forth, you know, things that are way off of where we think. And it is a birthplace of good thought process, but also it's a birthplace of things that are not too great. You know, people telling us when God's coming and all that business and whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? And you know, even though some of them branches have come into a space where I would say, yes, you can be a Christian and go to heaven and be in them doctrines, but the doctrines have been built on not orthodoxy, no truth. It's just a guy just coming out with ideas. Mormonism and all these things were birthed in this so-called Great America. Let's make America great again. That Great America is men murdering hundreds of people in the name of God. The Spanish saying, yo, if these guys don't convert to Christian, God has told us to kill them all.
And I'm not saying it's wrong, but what I'm saying, at least they had something to measure what is right and wrong. Namely the Bible and the Constitution.
They using no Bible, but they're just using gold. You know what I mean? They're just they're looking at resources and whatsoever. But anyway, but that's my look back at history.
We gotta wrap it up. We'll wrap it up, guys. Ideologees, episode 3. I really hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
God bless you. Keep it locked.
Thank you for watching the content we're putting out. Listen, make sure that you are liking, subscribing and following us on all our social channels, including patreon.com. Make sure you're finding us on there to support what we do so we can support you. And remember, guys, be extra.